questions. Yes.
I think maybe just to add to that, I think not just blogs, but the internet in general, I think it's kind of geared more for conveying information and conveying facts, figures, information as right to the point. So I think things like prose and creative style and things like that are almost secondary.
Yes, you're absolutely right up to a point. It is superb for conveying information, but it's information that's already there. It's not information that has been gathered and through investigation and a lot of work. So it's a certain kind of information it's good at, and it's also very good at conveying opinion. But the thing about opinion is that we all have opinions, but the reason we value some people's opinions more than others, and it gets back to what I was saying in my remarks about there's no right and wrong answer, but there are opinions we value more than others because they're better expressed, or they're expressed more convincingly, which is similar to but not quite the same thing. And it seems to me that most people who write exclusively for the web, and again, I'm not the right person to cast judgment here, but that's not going to stop me, they aren't aware of that. They just think getting it out there is the important thing. But if you cannot make your argument with a degree of rhetorical excellence, why bother? And I do think this gets back to the question about is interest enough. It seems to me that, I teach at Brandeis, as Mike mentioned, and I have a fair number of students who blog, and I will look at the blogs, I'll ask them about the blogs, and they'll post something like once a month. That I may not be a blog person, but even I know that's not how a blog runs. You're constantly posting stuff, or it's really not an effective blog. And I think what happens is people are like, oh wow, I'm going to set up a blog and I have this opinion, and they'll post something and maybe something else, and then they just kind of lose interest. So there has to be that determination both to do it and to do it well. So.
I guess you mentioned the profitability is the other really important part of the equation, and it's obviously it's still a huge unanswered question in journalism in general, how we can make any form of journalism or just content profitable online. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, the one thing I would say is that bloggers are a lot better off than major metropolitan newspapers, and that if you're a good blogger, you can sell ads, you can solicit contributions from your readers, as a number have done successfully, and you can generate enough income to lead. Certainly, if you've got a day job, so you can do it on the side, or perhaps even enough that can be your sole means of support. But you can't, generate enough income to maintain, a print operation. How that's going to play out, I certainly don't know. But as an employee and stockholder in one of the leading mainstream media companies, I sure hope they come up with something.
Everybody does. Yeah.
I have a question. You said that you just said that the future is going to hinge on the audience, the relationship of the audience and the critic. And I'm curious if you can just tell us a little bit about your 3 decades of relationship to audiences. How have they changed? What's the difference between 1980, writing a book review in 1980, and writing a book review in 2010?
Well, I think the biggest difference is that because of the web, which is wonderful. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing the web. The one thing that I guess I resent the young for is that you don't appreciate how truly phenomenal the web is. It's just this miraculous thing. I mean, maybe that's how, people of my parents' generation viewed my generation and how we just took TV for granted. But to compare TV to the web is like comparing, a pond to the ocean. And one of the most liberating aspects from my point of view is how it has empowered readers to be much more direct in contacting me and how much more I hear from them. But really that's been the one biggest change in terms of my relationship to readers. More speculatively, I'd say, certainly as regards books and maybe all cultural productions, they don't matter as much because things have become so much more greatly diversified. There's much more out there. People have many more options. And things just, I can't be more specific than this, but things just don't seem to matter as much because there's been this great broadening of material out there, which is a great thing. But, intensity's kind of cool too. But that is just more a general observation. I can't really back up, but that is my strong sense. Oh.
Well, two questions. One, I'd just like to follow what you said. In the case that they don't matter as much, or that they just can't dominate the attention as much?
That's a very good question. I suspect a little of both. But again, I don't know. I mean, there's a wonderful quote from Philip Roth, the novelist, who back in the 1970s was very much involved with getting Central and Eastern European writers translated into English and published in the United States. And he was talking about the difference between culture on this side of the Iron Curtain. I mean, that sounds like such a dated term, Iron Curtain, how the world has changed. And that side of the Iron Curtain. And he said, here, everything goes and nothing matters. And over there, nothing goes and everything matters. And I do see a cultural corollary to what was once a cultural corollary to that political statement. The wider open things are, the less of an impact it has on people. But I do think that's a good point about how it's just harder for one thing to dominate.
My other question
Yeah.
is very different. What do you believe will be the impact of mobile devices, and particularly the iPad, on arts communications, arts journalism?
I'm embarrassed to say I have no idea. And in fact, I'm further embarrassed to say that when I was looking at today's New York Times, the print edition, and I saw quite correctly that they did the unexpected thing of putting the review of the iPad on page 1. I thought to myself, I should read this. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to read it. So again, I'm the wrong person to ask. Mike, your vetting process next year, you're really better, you need to do a better job.
You were surprised.
Yeah, that and 25 cents will get you to Park Street. Yes?
So you started at working in the libraries,
Mhm.
and a lot of us that are going to be graduating are going to be starting in similar jobs, or we're kind of doing something we're not, it's not our aim. But then you ended up writing, about something you were passionate about and moving up. And I was just wondering if you had any advice on how you did that.
Well, I apologize to those of you, excuse me, who are in any of the classes I spoke to today, because I'll be repeating myself. But it does seem to me that there are 3 things that are crucial to your eventual success or lack of success in your chosen profession. I know it's true for journalism, and I very much suspect it's true across the board. In an increasing order of importance, those are persistence, because you'll certainly meet with setbacks, and it is quite natural to just sort of give up after a setback, but if you do, nothing good will come of it. The second is ability, but unfortunately, ability isn't necessarily completely apparent at what is still an early age for you guys. It may not seem so young to you, but trust me, it's young. And also ability does continue developing, which is good. And then the most important of all is just luck. I won't bore you with my own professional history, but as I look back, there are like 4 or 5 things that if they hadn't happened quite fortuitously, certainly I never would have been asked to speak. I wouldn't be speaking here to you guys this afternoon. I don't know what would have happened, but luck is so important in life. That said, those of you who are sports fans will recognize the name Branch Rickey, which is a pretty cool name in and of itself, who was the baseball executive who brought Jackie Robinson into the major leagues. And Branch Rickey had a wonderful saying, which is the corollary to luck being so important. Yes, luck is very important, but luck is also the residue of design. Being lucky isn't enough. You have to have set things up in such a way that luck can benefit you. So don't think it's all in others' hands, but luck really does matter.